John Rambo. He was just passing through their town.
Morning!
You got someplace I can eat around here?
There's a diner about 30 miles up the highway.
John Rambo, one man who's been pushed too far. First blood.
Gee, that money, don't forget one thing. A good supply of body bags.
Sylvester Stallone. This time, he's fighting for his life. First blood.
Hello my friend, how are you? We are with you with the second episode of the RAMBO podcast series. In this episode we are together with Ted Kotcheff. Ted Kotcheff is the director of the RAMBO First Blood in the 1982. You know, First Blood is the first RAMBO movie in the cinema and so important movie and also his masterpiece. And this interview was conducted by my friend Mat Thomas Marchand. Happy watching to everyone from Betamax Video, peace and love.
La section action, le film rétro. Thank you very much to come from Fantasia for the action section. Every year I try to bring back some old action film that I grew up and I like, and you guys I'm sure you like. Last year we bring you Cynthia Rothrock for and the year before we present Terminator 2 3D, and this year we have two movies. We're paying homage to two people. The first one is First Blood. Do we have a fan of First Blood here? So before we start, we have the director of First Blood, but I want to welcome my good friend Tony Tempo.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for coming out, folks. It's a very, well, first, welcome to part one of Fantasia's tribute to the legendary Canadian director, Ted Kotcheff. Tonight's part one, we're going to present to you the 4K restoration of First Blood. And tomorrow night, at the Museo de something across the street, we're going to be showing another digital restoration of Ted Kotcheff's The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz. How many folks know that one? All right, well, this is one side of Ted. You got to come see the other side of Ted tomorrow night when we present one of the most famous Canadian films of all time, The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz. So please come down for that as well. And tonight is also a very special night for us because it's the inaugural presentation of the Fantasia Canadian Trailblazer Award. And the first one getting that tonight will be Ted Kotcheff, right over here. And why is Ted Kotcheff a Canadian trailblazer? Well, number one, in the 1950s, he started at the CBC as the youngest director to be working in live television. So that's trailblazer number one. Okay. Number two, he's a trailblazer for effortlessly moving from theater to live TV to film, back to TV in countries all over the world. It's quite an astounding career that Ted Kotcheff has lived in. Yeah, please, yes. And why else is Ted Kotcheff a Canadian trailblazer? Well, he was also considered for having made the best Australian film of all time, 1971's Wake and Fright, which played here at Fantasia 8 years ago. How many folks here were for Wake and Fright? Do you remember that? Yeah. The film played the Cannes Film Festival. It's, again, considered one of the best Australian films, if not the best Australian film of all time. It's a wonderful movie. Donald Pleasance is in it. You've got to check that out. Okay, so to continue, why is Ted Kotcheff a Canadian trailblazer in the film industry? Well, for bringing The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz to the screen in 1974. That film put Canadian cinema on the map. It was an international success. He spent almost a dozen years trying to film that book, which was written by Montreal's own, one of your great authors here. And it was the first film to actually present a Jewish man as the lead character. It's set in Jewish neighborhoods here in Montreal. It's told from the Jewish perspective. First film, trailblazing film, Canadian film, and also a trailblazing film about Jewish culture. Again, why is Ted Kotcheff a trailblazer? For the international success of Apprenticeship of Duddy Prophets. It played all over the world. It won the Golden Bear in Berlin. And it gave Richard Dreyfuss his first leading role. I know that we have some Richard Dreyfuss fans in the audience who saw Astronaut the other night, and of course went on to do American Graffiti and Jaws. Again, Ted is also a trailblazer for moving through every single genre there is: comedy, drama, action films, westerns, sports films, you name it. The only two genres that he hasn't explored yet, and I hope he does, is horror, because he said horror films scare him too much, and science fiction, because he couldn't believe it. He never had, he couldn't believe in spaceships and all that crazy stuff, all the stuff you guys love. But he still has a few movies in him, so let's hope he explores those genres next. And finally, I think the most important reason why we want to honor him this evening as a Canadian trailblazer in the industry is because of what a decent human being Ted Kotcheff is. Everyone who's ever known him or worked with him has never had a bad thing to say about him. He's one of the most loved film directors and producers in the US, in Canada, in the UK, Australia. And he's intelligent, he's witty, he's generous and loving. And again, no other person has been more deserving of this award than Mr. Ted Kotcheff. Let's give it up for Ted, our Canadian trailblazer. First award. On a horse.
I don't have a speech prepared. They only told me about this today, that I was going to win this award, the Trailblazer Award, and but I thought it was all going to be because of the Apprenticeship of Liddy Kravitz, which is going to be shown tomorrow night. Mordecai Richler was my best friend. I think you all know who he is, don't you? Yes. He's a great Canadian writer. And we came to share a flat, an apartment in London, the two of us, when we were both 25 or 26. And I was directing at the BBC while he stayed at home and wrote. And when I moved in, he was doing the first page of the book, The Apprenticeship of Liddy Kravitz. And he did it for the next 2 years. He slaved over that book. And one night, after I finished shooting, I came home and I said, Mordecai, let's have a gin and tonic. And he said, wait a minute. Anyway, I went to the typewriter, and he pulled out a page. And he said, this is the last page of the novel. Here's the rest of the manuscript. And he put it in my lap. Read it. So I sat there, and I read the whole 350 pages of the novel, sitting there. And I said to him, Mordecai, not only is this the best Canadian novel ever been written, but one day I'm going to go back to Canada and make a film of it. And we laughed uproariously, because of course there was no such thing in Canada. There was no film industry in Canada that would make such a film. But I spent the next 13 years trying to get the money to do it. So I guess I'm a trailblazer in that respect. Getting the money, and there were funny things. My most close thing, I kept pushing in the hands of producers, and I directed a film called Two Gentlemen Sharing, which was about the racial situation in London, and it was accepted at the film festival. I forgot which one, the one in Italy, And the head of AIP, American International Pictures, one of the big distributors, Sam Markoff. I told him, I said, Sam, because he loved my film. He bought the film at the film festival, that one I told you about, and Two Gentlemen Sharing. Then he said, Ted, I love all your films. And I said, listen, I just got this book, but I want to make a film out of it. And I think it's going to make a terrific film. So gave it to him to read. And he read it. And finally, after 12, 13 years, the man, he was one of the heads of one of the biggest distribution companies in Hollywood. So he had all the money to do something. He said, Ted, I love this book. I said, grazie Dio, grazie Dio. He said, I want to make it. Oh, grazie Dio, grazie Dio. And then, I want to make it. But, I hate buts. I hate buts. Buts are never good. But what? I said. He said, but I don't want Denny to be a Jew. I want him to be a Greek. I said, a Greek? He said, the whole point is that, you know, that the boy comes from a small Jewish enclave in the middle of surrounded by this Catholic metropolis in Montreal. It can't be. And he said, no, I'm not making it if he's not a Greek. And I said, what do you mean, like Dudolopoulos, Kropopoulos? And I said, he finally, I said, I'm sorry, I can't finally. I said, listen, I told him, listen, the whole point of Dirty Kravitz, he was like Mordecai. Mordecai, when he was a boy in Montreal here, in Saint-Urbain Street, the Christian kids would dance around saying, you killed Jesus Christ, you killed Jesus Christ, you. That was kinds of things that Dirty would have to accept. And he'd have to see that great cross flashing as Christianity all day long. I said, this is things that he had to get around. And that's what makes Dirty sympathetic. That he has to fight through all this. But no, he wouldn't budge, and I didn't make the film with him. But, and finally, so is this going on too long?
No, it's good.
What? Oh, I'm going to do Q&A afterwards? Okay, I'll do all the, Anyway, but finally, the film was made because the natives came to save it. The Canadian government set up a committee, the CFDC, the Canadian Film Development Corporation, and my wonderful man Michael Spencer. I gave him the book and the script, which I couldn't. And he said, I'll give you half the money, make it, it's beautiful. And I got the other money from Jerry Snyder, a real estate guy in Montreal here. And that's how I made the film, and yeah, if you want to see it, it's a film I made tomorrow night. Big kisses to all of you.
Yeah! Woo! Let's hear it again to Ted Kotcheff. Thank you. Prepare yourselves now for the gorgeous 4K restoration of First Blood.
Don't forget, after this movie, we have a Q&A with Mr. Ted Kotcheff, and we also, I ask you to turn off your cell phone, please. We don't want to see the blue light everywhere. It's a nice movie. You want to enjoy the movie. You don't want to enjoy your phone. And please try to stay quiet and not talking with your friends or something during the movie. Thank you very much.
That means no crying. I'm going to cry.
John Rambo was just passing through town, but they had nothing better to do. They didn't know how far he would go. They knew he was innocent.
Just another drifter that broke the law.
You want to accept the fact that you're dealing with an expert in guerrilla warfare. Sylvester Stallone in First Blood, from the best-selling novel.
always say to people that this film is a Canadian film. And I'll tell you why. Because, of course, it's based on the book, The Hope, by a Canadian writer called David Morrell. And, of course, you know, the director is a Canadian as well, you know. And we shot the film in Hope, British Columbia. All that area around there, the woods and everything else, is all in British Columbia. So that's why I always say it's a Canadian film. The other thing that struck me, by the way, that print is a brand new print. It's called K4. 4K, sorry. 4K, the whole technique. It's a beautiful, beautiful print, isn't it? Great vivid images, and the colors are amazing. One thing I remember, Sylvester Stallone. Remember at the beginning, he's on the side of a cliff, and then he dives off, and the tree breaks his fall. Well, originally, at stage that fall, that whole jump that was done by a stunt called Billy Joe Hooker, an incredible stuntman. But I said I wanted him to hit the thing. Remember, he hits the branch, and then he falls over into the ground. I wanted him to do the whole thing. And Sylvester said, "Oh, come on, Ted, let me do it. Let me do that last thing where he hits the branch." I said, "No, please don't do it. Don't do it, Sylvester. Don't." You know, I always had, because you can't risk your star. But it's no, actually fine. He said, "Okay." So, you know, he got 8 feet above that very bridge that branch doesn't yield at all. And he jumped out and bang! Ah! He screamed. Except he wasn't screaming acting, he was screaming for real. He broke 4 ribs. And he acted the rest of the picture with both 4 ribs. Can you imagine? I said, "I told you not to do it." But anyway, yes.
I want to know, first of all, I want to know how you get involved in the project, how the project came to you.
Well, the project came to me because the head of Warner Brothers, a man called Robert had been my agent for many years at William Morrison. He became the president of Warner Brothers. So he called me in and said, "Listen, we got this. We got this book." And he said, "We had 3 scripts done it. None of them were any good. Come on, Ted, read it and make a film out of it." And that's how I got it.
Sylvester was attached to the movie from the beginning?
Hmm?
Sylvester was attached to the movie from the beginning?
No, I cast him.
Oh, you cast him?
Yes. What happened was that Warner Brothers decided not to do it because they felt that the American audience didn't want to see films about the Vietnam War, which they think was colossal military failure in the whole history of the United States. So my agent said to me, Robert said, "Listen, Tim, the board of directors don't want to make this film. They think the audience don't want to see anything to do with the Vietnam War." And so, so these two other guys, Andy Vanya, the producer, Andy Vanya, and Kassar, Maria Kassar, and they bought it. It spent a whole year getting the script away from Warner Brothers, because one thing is that even though Warner Brothers weren't going to make the film, they're not going to get the script or the book, because they're not going to make it. But if they give it to somebody else and it becomes a success, they look like idiots. So they weren't going to have that nice. But you're not going to get. I said, "You're not going to get them to give up the book or the script. They won't do it, even though they don't want to make it. They're not going to let you make it and make them look like idiots if it's a success," which is exactly what happened. But they negotiated, and finally they got the book and the rights to make it. And then they said they said, "Well, who's going to play the main part? Because we need that to sell it abroad and get money abroad." So I said, "I want Sylvester Stallone." And I said, no, you can't have Sylvester Stallone. And one second. And I said, but why? And they said, well, he's made 2 films. He made Rocky, two Rockies, hugely successful. But the 4 other films he made were total failures. He made Fist, Nighthawks, Paradise Alley, and Victory. All failed. So the received wisdom in Hollywood at that time was, Sylvester Stallone only works in Rocky. And I said, no, I won't accept that. This guy is perfect. He's got the strength, and there's something very touching about him. He's got, I feel, this feeling, deep feeling, and I think he's perfect for the part. And finally, they agreed. And in all the years that so I phoned his agent, and I said, let him read the script. My whole life as a director, usually when I submit the script to a star, you might get an answer in 2 months. Usually 3 months. The first time I sent him the script on a Thursday night, Friday morning, he phones me. I love this script. I want to do it. I couldn't hardly believe it. He said, but then I got one thing. I understand that you're going to do a rewrite of the script. And I said, yes. He says, I would like to participate in the rewrite with you. I said, love you to. And we worked together on the final draft of the script.
For me, I'm a huge Sylvester Stallone fan for many years, and I feel that in this movie you direct him well. You show all his strength as an actor. The last part when he's crying and everything, it's touching. I think the only person who did it's like when they do Creed, the last Creed. You can see that quality acting, and when they did Rocky. But for all his career, they never used his quality as an actor, and you did a great job doing it. How can you? Why did you the only one who see that in him?
Well, I don't know. I've always been an actor's director. So, I mean, my strength as a director is that I like working with actors, and I've taught acting as well. I'm proud of getting good performances out of my stars.
You did a great job for that. It's really the last time you see him acting and everything. But I have another question for you. After that, like the ending of that movie, it's not the ending in the book, and it's not the ending the studio wants to do.
Well, originally, this book was seen as a suicide mission. The whole book, the book is a suicide mission. And when we did the first script, the very first script, he, at the very end, at the last scene there, where and there's his commanding officers there, and he says to him, I know you have a gun underneath that jacket. Pull it out. You created me. Now you got to kill me. And Richard Crenna, the commanding, pulls out a gun, but he can't kill his man. But Rambo reaches up, Harry, and blows himself away. That was the first ending. And then when we shot that scene with him shooting himself, that whole thing at the end when he's crying, that whole thing. And then I shot it, and he gave a wonderful performance and everything. And then Sylvester Stallone got up and said, Ted, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, sure. What? He said, listen, he said, this poor guy, this character, the cops, the police are after him. He's chased by dogs. He leaps off cliffs and falls into trees. He gets shot in the arm, but he sews him up. And he says, and now we're going to kill him? He said, Ted, the audience is really going to hate us. They really are. They're going to hate us. And I said, I've been thinking of similarly on the same lines for other reasons. I said, they treat you as an enemy. They treat you as an enemy, and then you practically destroy the town because that destroy that town because you've been trained how to do that in Vietnam, to go into a village and reduce it to nothing. And I said, but if you die, then they win. Nasty people win. So I said, I've been thinking like that. So listen, I agree with you. What I'm going to do is, right now, I'm going to shoot a different ending. Right now. And I said, here's what I'm going to do, Sylvester. I'm going to shoot. We'll cut away, just as we did here. Cut away before he pulls the gun out. And we'll cut outside, and you'll come out with your commanding officer and some state troopers. And then the camera's going to fall down. It's a crane shot. He's going to look off to the right, and we're going to pan over, and it's an ambulance. It's an ambulance, and the sheriff that you shot is not dead. He's being loaded. He's still alive. And then he goes down the street with the whole town. Ted said, and Sylvester said, Ted, you're a bloody genius. That's great. So I'm lining it up, and the two producers came over. What are you doing, Kotcheff? I said, I'm shooting an alternate ending. An alternate ending? This is a suicide mission. Anyway, you're over budget and over schedule. Now get out of here. I said, you don't know Ted Kotcheff. I don't take shit from any producers. Get out of here. I'm going to do this. And I tell you something else. When you get this film, we didn't have an American distributor. When you get an American distributor, I bet you anything, they'll want a happy ending. And if I shoot it now, you won't have to come back here in 3 months. I have to do it at a great expense and do a new ending then, because I promise you, the American distributor won't live with that ending, where he commits suicide. And anyway, I kicked it out, and I shot that ending. Well, you saw the ending. That's the ending I shot. And at any rate, but we left the suicide ending in, where Rambo commits suicide. And then the picture was picked up by Orion Pictures. Mike Medaway was the head of it, whom I knew as well. And Mike Medaway said, this is one of the great action films I've ever seen, but I hate the ending. And I said, oh, my prophetic soul. I didn't tell him anything. And they said, and he says, I want you to do a new ending. And the two producers, they stuck, no, this is a suicide mission. The whole point is the way we maltreat Vietnam veterans. And that's got the whole point of it. But no, we won't change it. And they argued back and forth quite vociferously. I said nothing. And finally, they decided to have a test screening. You know what I mean? And we did it in Las Vegas. And about 300 theater like this with 300 people, and they loved the film. They loved the picture. They were yelling, Rambo! Oh, come on, that's it, Rambo! Oh, look out! The sheriff's behind you, Rambo! They were yelling at the screen, directing it. And they just loved the picture. And then he commits suicide. You could have heard a pin drop in the theater. And a voice came out of the theater. If the director of this film is sitting in the theater, let's string him up from the nearest lamppost for killing Rambo. And the other voice said, yeah, I agree. I said to my wife, let's get the hell out of here before they hang you. So, and then of course they looked at all the cards, because each person submitted a card, and they all said the same thing. This is the best action film I ever seen. But what a horrible ending. And this is the best picture I've ever seen. How could you kill Rambo? And so much, 300 cards that were there were the same. So I saw the look on the face of the two producers, consternation in their faces. I said, boys, don't worry. In my back pocket. I said, okay, put it in the picture. That's what you see there. Woo! So, I'm talking too much. If I'm supposed to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Thank you for being here.
Could you speak?
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for being here and thank you for the film. When you mentioned earlier that it's pretty much the Canadian film, but you have forgotten to mention Dan Hill, one of the greatest Canadian songwriter and the singer who performed the soundtrack, which is one of my favorite songwriters. Would you kind of tell about how he ended up writing the most important song? Thank you.
It was through Jerry.
It's a long road. The soundtrack of
That's a
Long
great.
Road.
I love that song.
I
But that
love
was
it.
Jerry Goldsmith cooperated in the writing on that, and that's how it came about. In the short answer. So it was through Jerry Goldsmith, who's one of the great film composers, and he was the one. And I think he wrote the music for it, and then
Dan Hill wrote it.
Huh?
Dan Hill wrote it. It's a Long Road was written by Dan Hill.
Yeah. They did it. They think they did it together.
They did together, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Yes, they did.
That's right. Do you know one thing about this? I was just going to say is that the what this picture was about how badly they treated the Vietnam veterans. For the first time, World War II, the veterans came back and they were heroes and they had marching big bands and banners, welcome home, blah 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 blah. This time, the poor veterans came back, and the right wing thought they were a bunch of losers, and the left wing thought they had killed babies and women. They're murderers, and they were absolutely maltreated, and that's the thing that Rambo goes through. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm answering questions. I've talked too much.
Yeah.
Good evening. I would like to talk about the sheriff. At one point in the novel, and I think also in the script, the sheriff was presented as a Korean War veteran. And as a matter of fact, in his office, when he sat down in his chair, we see in the background some military medals, and there was 2 military medals. One was the Silver Star, and the other one the Distinguished Army Cross, which are the second and third highest award for valor in the military compared to RAMBO Medal of Honor. And so we have this dichotomy where we have the Korean War veteran, which is a bit older, and the Vietnam War veteran, which is a bit younger, and we have the Vietnam War veteran, which is, as you said yourself, considered a loser by everybody, compared to the Korean War veteran, which is almost forgotten because nobody remember Korean War. Why was this characterization of the sheriff left? Was it because you ran out of time, because you didn't find that it was relevant?
Yeah, I thought you didn't need it. Yes. My God, you're perceptive. I forgot about that. All the things you mentioned about the things in the wall, but you're absolutely right. On one point when I thought, no, it's going to confuse it. It's about Vietnam veterans and now the Korean veterans. I thought, but I thought it was an unnecessary complexity. That's why. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe I made an error. Thanks for mentioning it. Who else?
Yes, yeah.
I'd read online.
There's a microphone.
Sorry, I'd read online the original cut of the movie is something like 3 hours long. Stallone hated it, wanted to buy it back, take it off the market, but it ended up this incredibly tight 93 minutes. I don't know if it's true or not, but can you discuss how the movie went from a larger or longer original cut to the very excellent 93-minute cut we saw?
I don't remember this, I gotta tell you.
Okay.
And I don't think Sylvester ever complained about the length of it. But not because I never cut things. I mean, I always cut very, very tight. It's true. But I don't remember it being 3 hours long. It could have been assembly, too, I mean, that often happens when the editor puts in everything, hangs up there, keeps shots that should be 10 seconds, he keeps them on for 30 seconds, and blah, 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 blah. But so in the editing process, which I get involved in, I'm continually tightening it. So that could have been it. But he didn't complain about no. He loved it.
Okay. Can I just ask you one other thing about another movie you made that I love, which is Weekend at Bernie's?
Yeah.
Do you remember much about making that movie? I think it's an incredible movie, and Terry Rice's performance is incredible. If you're able to, can you talk about that at all?
Oh, the same guy.
Sorry, I just asked you about another movie you made, Weekend at Bernie's, that I really like a lot. Can you speak about making that movie at all, or what you remember about it?
The two of my films that everybody in the world has seen, and I mean everybody in the world. One of them is this picture, First Blood, and the other one is Weekend at Bernie's. Wherever I go, people all over, I go into some Asian country, they say, hey, register RAMBO, and Weekend Bernie's. They always say it, but it's an incredibly funny film. You know, and I love doing comedies. People are always saying to me, Kotcheff, well, you're weird. You do comedies, and drama, and action pictures, which I do. What's the most difficult thing? Action? I said, no, action's the easiest. Comedy is the hardest. And I said, well, they say, but this must be such fun. How could it be hard? I said, listen, do you know Oscar Wilde was dying? And his friend came and saw him to visit him. He said, oh, poor Oscar, you're dying. Dying must be so hard. And Oscar said, dying's easy, comedy's hard. then they keep saying, well, what is it? I said, okay, listen, say or do something and make me laugh. Go ahead. Say or do something, make me laugh. I can't, because it's hard. Comedy is really hard. But I certainly enjoy making it.
You have time for one last question? The girl with the red shirt.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's starting enough.
Pass it on.
Good evening. My question is a technical question. Because the movie has been made outdoor, what kind of technical difficulty have you faced while making the movie?
Well, you know, when I see that, when I see the film like this, I go, oh my God, those scenes in the woods. I keep saying, Kotcheff, you're a genius. Kotcheff, you're a genius. To do those scenes in the woods with 5 people running through it. It was, and it was really difficult in there. Yeah, you're right, but that's what I get paid the money for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
People ask you to leave the theater, so we can see him in the lobby, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.